So I wrote some notes about this over the weekend, and I wrote down here, most agents come into the real estate business with energy, enthusiasm, and high hopes, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay? Some do really well, and some not so much. And worse, that the ones that don't do really well kind of leave the business. In my years of working in this business, the real estate business is very different than a normal job. Those of us that have had quote-unquote real jobs or normal jobs, this is very different. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to line out some traits of why people don't do well in this business and or leave the business. So I wrote down here 5 habits of defective real estate agents. 5 habits of defective real estate agents. Okay? So, not in any particular order, but the first one I wrote down here is they have no structure or they lack discipline. They have no structure or they lack discipline. If you had a conventional sales job, you'd be working normal hours or whatever the normal hours of your employer were, and they would want you to come to work at a certain time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And you would be able to go home at a certain time unless certain expectations weren't met. So I kind of look at it this way. If your employer were paying you, let's back up just one step. A lot of us in this room, their minimum goal is $100,000 a year. Minimum goal. Some 150, some 200. How much would an employer pay you per month if they were paying you $100,000 a year? Anybody know? $8,333 a month. So if your goal was $100,000, if they were writing a check to you every month, they would be writing a check to you for $8,300 per month. If somebody were writing you a check for $8,300 a month, every month, what would they expect you to do on a regular basis?
Work. Show up.
Be on time.
Shh, be on time. Okay. Well, there's one. Good, we're going to write that one down. What else? What else would they expect?
To work consistently.
Sorry?
To work consistently.
To be consistent, to show up and be consistent. Okay, what else?
Don't miss work too often.
Don't miss work too often. Okay.
Be efficient.
Be efficient or productive, yes. What else?
Do what they're told.
Do what they're told. Okay. What else?
Don't be on social media during work hours.
Don't be on social media during work hours. So if you're asked to work a certain job, you would have that job, and here's the tasks, and you'd have to do it, right?
Right.
So here's what's interesting. A lot of us don't think $100,000 a year is enough. So we want more, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, I get it. So if you want $200,000 a year, how much would, and an employer gave you the job for $200,000 a year, okay? You got a job for $200,000 a year, right? Good job, right? How much a month is that? $16,666 a month. So if an employer was paying you $16,000 a month, what would they expect from you now?
A lot.
To be at your
Hustle.
To be at your best, hustle. I would never want you to ever go home. I'd chain you to one of the posts.
I would imagine many responsibilities.
Many responsibilities. Certainly to do the activities that are required of that job description, whatever that job description was, right?
Right. Yes. Every day.
Every day. So kind of what happens is that we don't have the discipline or we don't take the discipline, or we don't do it, or because we have options not to do it, or we think we have options not to do it, we don't do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. If you want $300,000 a year, which, by the way, is Centurion. Centurion's $282,000. That's Centurion. Okay? So let's call it $300,000. How much is that a month? It's right at $25,000 a month. So if somebody was writing you a check for $25,000 a month because your goal is $300,000 a year, because what you want to do is you want to hit Centurion status, they would expect you to do, you'd show up on time, maybe a little early, right? You would work until 4:35, 5:36, 10 o'clock, right? If your job was to hit 40, 50 contacts a day, would they expect you to do the 40, 50 contacts a day? Would they expect it every day?
Yes. Every day.
Every day, right, Gary?
Yes.
Every day. If they said preview 5 houses a day, 5 days a week, what would the expectation be?
7 days a week.
7 days a week. Okay. You get what I'm saying here?
Yep.
And yet, we don't do the work required for the $200,000 or $300,000, and we're expecting the $200,000 or $300,000, and we're frustrated we're not getting the $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 because we're not doing the activities. I wrote down here, successful agents make sure they preview properties and they prospect. They follow up with their leads and they know the scripts and dialogues and how to handle objections. Hey, how about that? Handling objections. So if you were working for me and you were earning $25,000 a month, would I expect you to know the objection handlers? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, well, why don't you expect you to know them? Because you have options. Stop that. I wrote that down here. Okay? Note, common defective habit of a real estate agent is no structure and lack of discipline. The second thought is they have no systems. They have no systems. Successful businesses, all successful businesses, small and large, have one thing in common, that they have what? Systems. Systems for opening the retail store. Nordstrom's has a system for opening the store at night at a certain time, or excuse me, in the morning. At the evening, they have a system for closing it. Have you ever been in a Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus or one of those department stores when it gets close to closing time? They start locking all the outside doors, and they start funneling everyone in and out of one door. It's a system. It's part of the closing system, so that they don't have to go search the place. You know, how big are those buildings? 200,000 square feet, 300,000 square feet, some of those things. I mean, and you'd have to look in every nook and cranny to make sure that somebody isn't inside. That's a system for closing the store. Systems allow a person or a company to create predictability and duplicatable results, because agents don't have a boss who tells them what to do to earn money. They need to set up their own systems. And then when I tell you what to do, which I'm perfectly comfortable doing, what do you tend to do?
No.
Okay.
Run away. There's no walking away. It's running away. Oh no. You know what Neil said the other day? He wanted me to do 30 contacts a day, 5 days a week. Can you believe that? And he wanted me to preview 5 houses a day, 5 days a week. What the hell's that about? And he wanted me to learn how to handle an objection. Don't cut a commission. Okay, or I have a friend in the business, or I want to think about it. Any of you guys ever heard those before? Okay, and yet you're still in the business 2, 3 years, 4, 5, 8, 10, 15, 25 years later, and you still don't know how to handle the basic objections. I stand up here every week, so I figure I've been doing this for, well, let's say I've been on the management side for 30 years, let's say, okay? Maybe 35, but 30 years anyway. And I do 40 of these meetings a year. So what's 40 times 30? 1,200?
1,200.
Probably more like 12,000, but who's counting? Feels like 12,000. It's a lot. And what do I say? Pretty much the same thing, right? And some people do extraordinarily well and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars a year, working these very simple systems. And if you ask them, they will tell you, in almost every single case, even the ones making millions of dollars a year, that they don't do more than 40 to 50% of anything we ask them to do. And they're making a bloody fortune. And the ones that aren't succeeding aren't doing 3%, 8%, 5%. All right, well, let's move on to something else. Successful agents have structured outline of their day, their week, their month, of year. The more detailed the plan, the more effective and efficient they are. Real estate agents must create systems for lead generation, not prospecting. Lead generation. Conversations. Mike Ferry told me to stop using the prospecting word, the P word, get rid of it. Okay, nobody wants to hear it. So let's have conversations. Good job. Lead follow-up. Listing appointments, pre-qualifying, buyer appointments, negotiating contracts, pending transactions, tracking numbers, practicing, and a role play. So that's the system side. 5 habits of defective real estate agents. So they have no structure, they have no systems. The third thing they have is no accountability. No accountability. Without a traditional boss, there is no one to hold you accountable. I went into this business so I could be my own boss. Okay? You went into this business to be your own boss so that you could earn above average income. Right? Above average income. And yet we don't do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. Oftentimes this causes agents to be easily distracted, confused, unsure, and uncertain about getting work done. There isn't an agent we don't bring into the company that we don't show them, walk them through it, hold their hand, coach and train the activities needed to be successful. Not one. Okay? And yet, on any given day, agents will come to us and say, I don't know what to do today. What do I do today? Anybody relate to that?
Yep.
Anybody relate to that? Not besides the coach? Not you, Coaches accept. I don't know what to do today. I'm lost. Should I work on expireds or for sale by owners? Should I work on just listeds or just solds? Should I work condos or should I work 2-story homes? What should I do today? What's my pat answer?
Yes.
Do something! No accountability. If you're committed to making 40 contacts during a prospecting session, hang in there. Don't stop at 39. I hear this all the time. What's your goal today? 40. Great. The end of the day, how'd you do? 38. What happened to the other 2? I didn't get them done. Something got in the way. Just make it. So remember, if we're paying you $16,000 a month, would we expect you to hit 40 or 32?
40.
Whatever the number was, but it would be 40. If you only hit 32, and I was paying you $16,000 a month, how many times do you think your employer who was paying you $16,000 a month would be okay with you only hitting 32?
Once.
Once, maybe twice. Third time, we're looking for a new person to pay $16,000 a month. To get the point here?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and then you say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to work in that environment. I get it. I understand that. Yet you came into the environment saying, I want to make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Can you have it both ways?
No.
Come on.
No.
Some of you have been here around. You must think you can. Because you come in saying, I'll do it, I get it, and that afternoon or the next day, something gets in the way. I don't understand it. So, let's write down the fourth thing. No ability to anticipate the market. This is, in reality, what I really wanted to talk about today. Okay?
No ability to.
No ability to anticipate the market. How many weeks have I been sharing with you the market's changing?
Yes.
How many weeks?
A few. 4 or 5.
4, 5, 8, 10, 12, 27, okay? Certainly 10 weeks, okay? Let's go back and look at my notes. And at least 10 weeks, the market's changing. What do I say? How are we saying the market's changing? Sorry? It's the stats, but what are we saying about the stats that are indicating the market's changing?
Days on the market.
Days on the market or longer, okay, what else?
Active listings on the market.
Sorry?
Active listings.
More active listings. So you have longer days on the market and you have more properties on the market, okay? You're having way more price reductions, way more price reductions.
A lot of more homes going back on the market too.
A lot of properties, so our expired numbers are rising. Those of you that track expireds, every week, every month, there's a few more than the month before. Not dramatic yet, but we're seeing that, okay? Curious, what are you doing about it? 10 weeks I've been talking about this. What are you doing different about it? Okay? What scripts have you embraced? What statistics are you working on? What more do you know about the marketplace? I'm telling you the market's changing. You're sensing the market's changing, but you're not doing anything about it. Market's changing. What are you going to do about it? You're going to let it roll over you or not? Things are going different. Okay, why is the market changing? Anybody? So the market's changing. Why?
Interest rates.
Interest rates are one. They've gone up or down?
Up.
Up. Okay, so who can tell me the effect of interest rates going up to a buyer?
They get
They
price
qualify for
market.
less.
What, sorry, Tess?
They're holding back in spending because their interest rate is going up.
And the interest rate going up affects them how?
Or their purchase.
Purchase, okay.
They cannot afford the houses anymore.
They can't afford the houses. Why?
Because their income is not going up.
Because what?
The
Monthly
income's not
payment
going
is a
up.
high.
What is their interest rate?
The interest rate, the monthly pay, the income of the client isn't going up. At the same rate, the interest rates are going up.
And
How do
prices
I
are
know
high.
that?
Prices are high.
I read that. And there's articles to that effect. But you have to be able to articulate that. You were saying, Lita, there was one.
Monthly payment.
The monthly payment is going up. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Jones, your monthly payment's going to go up. Where was the monthly payment? Where is it now? Oh my gosh. I've done classes on
Well, see,
this.
I hear,
Wait. How do you describe to a client the difference in what's going on in the monthly payment? And you guys remember this story. A year ago, interest rates were 1% less. 1% equals, in most of our price ranges, $500 a month in payment. So the payment now is $500 more than it was a year ago. $500 a month takes care of $100,000 worth of mortgage, of debt. $500 covers a $100,000 mortgage. So a year ago, I could buy a $500,000 house that cost me $2,000 a month, more or less, these round figures, okay? But I decided not to buy then. I decided to wait as a buyer. So now, today, a year later, interest rates are up 1%. So now it's going to cost me an additional $500 more a month out of my pocket. But I say, no, 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 no. I don't have the $500 because my income went up, but not the 500 bucks. Okay, because that $500, that 1% is 20%. 20%. So income rose 3% a year, 6% a year, but the $500 is 20%. See how it didn't go up enough? And so here's the thing. So I could buy a $500,000 house at and pay $500 more a month to get the same $500,000 house, or if I don't want to pay the $500 more a month, I can only afford a $400,000 house today a year later. Now, does that affect? Does that affect the buying power?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have to have this ability to be able to communicate that to your buyers and sellers. Minimum, 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 minimum. That's what's going on in the marketplace. So, so we have interest rates. What else is affecting the market?
Media.
Media.
Well, the media,
Property
okay.
values.
Sorry?
Not as much
So
more
the
money.
prices. What were the prices a year ago?
Come on, man.
A lot less.
Where were they were less. But saying they were less isn't helpful
Maybe
in having a conversation.
40, 50,000.
I don't know. So that's the question. But you could look up in multiple places what the properties were closing for a year ago in a certain track in Diamond Bar, Walnut, wherever you happen to be working, okay, Arcadia, etc. What were they selling for then? And what is that same house selling for today? Is it less or more?
More.
Probably more. Could be $100,000 or $150,000 more. Could be $40,000 more. The point is, you need to what?
No.
No. Who's selling property are people who know the answers to some of the questions I'm laying out here. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, you're looking at me like I'm completely on drugs, and everything I'm completely on drugs. Okay, this is, and all the information I'm sharing with you is in your MLS. It's in your car, CAR information or NAR information. Or you could probably talk to a lender about it, or you could ask one of your coaches and say, hey, how would I find out this information? You guys with me on this?
Yes.
If you knew this, would this make you more knowledgeable? Yes or no?
Yes.
If you more knowledgeable, do you think you'd have more, potentially more closings or more openings?
Yes.
Well, 3 of you would. Okay. So, no ability to anticipate the market. So the market is moving, you're not anticipating it, and you don't have the answers, okay? So that's point number 4 of highly defective real estate agents. And point number 5 is agents are not being honest with themselves. Agents are not being honest with themselves. Successful agents are honest with themselves. If you only make a few calls during your prospecting hour, but you tell your broker or coach that you've done more, who are you really hurting?
Yourself.
Totally yourself. Okay? So, I'm not saying that any of you are doing that. I think you're being honest for the most part in reporting the numbers. Where I think you're hurting yourself is not understanding the concept of consistency over time. 30 contacts a day, 30 contacts today, and no contacts tomorrow, and 50 contacts the next day, and no contacts the next day, and no contacts the next day, and 20 contacts the next day, and you got sick, and your battery died, and you couldn't do this, and you couldn't do that, and you came back around, and next week you got back on the 30 contacts, but you didn't realize, because you don't keep track of it, that you really didn't do anywhere near the numbers. See, I would rather see you do 20 contacts per work day consistently over 240 days than 50 contacts a day occasionally. Am I making sense here?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want 20, but if I'm going to get the inconsistency of 40-50. I'd rather have the consistency of the 20. You guys with me?
Yes.
So I wrote down a couple of final thoughts. This market that we've come out of has been, or coming out of, has been interesting and difficult. But interesting and difficult from a different way. 5 years ago, we had less real estate agents in the marketplace. 6 years ago, we had a lot less agents in the marketplace. 5 years later, we have a lot more agents in the marketplace or coming back into the marketplace. So what happens is, over the last 5 years, we've been losing the opportunities of the low-hanging fruit because it's not that super hard to get a home sold. It's not that super hard to get a house priced reasonably well. In fact, so much so that a lot of sellers are listing their homes with nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles and, you know, and for lower commissions. Are we running into lower commission problems?
Yes.
Okay, right? Okay, that's changing. It's changing right in front of our eyes. We just this morning took a listing, Redfin deal expired, you know, whatever they list their properties at, didn't sell. What a surprise. What a surprise, because it wasn't priced right, it wasn't marketed right, it wasn't handled right, and the market's shifting, so things are taking longer, and there's more of them. So that the agents that have been our competitors that just kind of ran in and picked the low-hanging fruit, they're going by the wayside right now, one at a time. Not thousands of them yet, but that's going to happen as the rest of the year moves on here. And it's going to be agents like yourselves that are working on all these things I'm talking about. No big deal. This is not brain surgery here. Okay, to get in the MLS and look up what days on market was doesn't take that long. Okay, it really doesn't. Learn it, work it. Excuse me. Learn the scripts, learn the finally, how to handle the objection handlers. This market is becoming more difficult and competitive, and the more difficult and competitive it is, in terms of needing skilled individuals, this is where we excel. Our company does okay during a quote-unquote up market, but where the rubber meets the road, and you have to know your scripts, you have to know your dialogues, you have to know what to say and how to say it, you have to know your marketing. Properties are going to take a little while. You're going to have to be able to have skills to be able to talk to your sellers and your buyers, hold your transactions together. Emotions go wacko during this kind of marketplace. You're going to have to be able to march it through. But the pluses are that the people you compete with start to thin out dramatically, and commission splits go up. Okay? The amount of commission the clients are willing to pay us goes up. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay? Those cut rate companies, they're not going to go bye-bye today, and they're not going to go completely bye-bye, but they are starting to lose listings. Okay? What they got yesterday, they're not going to get back, and they're not getting the relists. Okay? They don't have people that work expires, that can explain how to get a property in escrow, that can describe what we're talking about here and take the things that are going on. We have to work on this. Starts today, it starts with you. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, in order to do this, you have to have structure, you have to have discipline, you have to have powerful systems, and all of that needs to be in place with strong accountabilities. You need to have the skills to anticipate the market, and you need to be honest with yourself. And with that, tied with us and our coaching to help you and look forward, look, I guarantee you no one else, no other broker in Southern California is having this conversation with their team. They don't get it, they don't see it, they don't understand it, and here's what they've got. Most brokerage companies, their gross commissions are up right now. Okay, a lot of real estate agents, their gross commissions are up. Their number of closings are down, but they're not looking at the number of transactions, they're looking at the gross money. Well, the minute the market, you guys read the article or saw the thing, the market in June was down 11, 12, 13% in a couple of our marketplaces. That was number of transactions, not gross income. you lose 13% of your transactions that gets taken out of the marketplace in a month, somebody's not eating. Okay? Somebody's not eating. Those are transactions, not gross income. We're here to help you do that. We only want you to meet us halfway. Okay, 40% of the way. I'd kill for 30% of the way. Take these ideas, take these thoughts, work on them. Focus on what we're talking about for the next week, and you will have one of the best weeks you've ever had. Thank you very much.